Alright everybody, it is time for another roundup because news has happened. So, we've got a pretty big update from CD Projekt Red after their iffy earnings report. We've then got the funny situation of Ubisoft saying Far Cry 6 isn't political, and then shortly after saying it is, and the ensuing BS. Then Total War is getting review bombed for, well, sort of cutting and running. It's a bit rough. And, by the way, with today's sponsor, NordVPN.com/Bellular News, promo code Bellular News, you will actually get a 2-year plan with a huge discount plus an extra month free. And of course, that'll mean you'll get a VPN. So why get a VPN? Well, obvious. Do you want to watch content from another region? Maybe on Netflix? Well, easy. Use their 5,000 plus servers to choose your location and use the internet as if you are in said location, which is dead handy. You literally get more money out of your subscription services. They also keep you private. Your ISP won't know what sites you use, so they can't sell your browsing data to advertisers or other shady stuff, nor can your ISP prioritize some of the traffic that you use over others. Oh yeah, also, they've got NordLocker, 500 gigs of secure storage for £1.10 a month, and also NordPass for your passwords. All pretty sweet, the app and browser extension are super easy to use, and as I said, you'll get a huge discount with a free month at NordVPN.com/Bellular News. Promo code Bellular News. Alright, Nord, cheers! With that said, let's get into the news. CD Projekt Red have had even more head-turning news with their Q1 earnings call just going down. Basically, they big missed market expectations on net profit, with net profit being down 67%. So, ouch. They attributed that to Cyberpunk development, where basically nearly half of their games team is working, or nearly half of the team are working on fixes and next-gen. And what that means for us is free DLC and next-gen upgrades in the second half of this year, which is quite a while. They also shared a crash rate graphic, though, you know, there's nothing on the y-axis, so it's a pretty useless chart, basically. Honestly, the whole thing was quite light information. I think it's because they just know that when it comes to talking to their investors, like, sales are down, not being on Sony sucks. And the more that they speak, well, the more rope that they give other people to hang them with. In a way, that's how a bunch of this corporate communication works. And I guess for a lot of the Cyberpunk people, they are not really hearing a lot of what they would want to see. I think people want to see a faster rate of improvement. That's obviously something that doesn't seem to be happening. Now, on that Sony thing, well, they were asked a few times, and basically they said that there's a process with Sony, that Sony have got like metrics that they want CDPR to hit, but they can't, they can't talk about it yet. So, there you go. Imagine having half a year with no Sony. It's quite a screw up. Overall, though, there were no player numbers or sales numbers, nothing big and bombastic like the last time that, of course, they were tooting their own horn about all of that stuff. So it's a bit weird. They're in this situation where they have half the Cyberpunk team fixing up that game, the rest doing basically pre-production work for when they move into parallel AAA game development, so I guess 2 projects, from next year. But things right now are not looking so hot with just Cyberpunk on the go and it not being fixed yet. Now, Witcher 3's next-gen upgrade is later this year, and the augmented reality mobile tie-in game is this summer. So, that's it for them. Fix up Cyberpunk, start parallel development, and I believe also explore acquisitions. What else then? Well, Cyberpunk has got Gabriel Amantangello, I think, as the new game director. He is a Tor and Dragon Age vet who joined in January of last year. So, big role for him. You might be wondering then, what of Adam Badowski, the previous one? Well, he's actually now off to lead new stuff in CD Projekt Red. So basically, that's it. Basically, I think many people are not pleased at the slow rate of Cyberpunk's improvement. It still isn't really living up to the thing that they teased. And while it does absolutely make sense for them to begin their pre-production on the 2022 projects and the parallel development and all of that, I think we can all understand how people would get the wrong idea, because right now, the only thing they care about is Cyberpunk. Overall, yeah, they kind of burnt a whole bunch of bridges. It's just going to take a long-ass time for them to get their reputation back. That's pretty much that. Okay, time to dive into this topic. I'm sure this will be fun. Right, there's another major Ubisoft release on the horizon, which means that it is, of course, right on time, the time for yet another round of Is This Politics in Games? which is generally a fruitless shit show in which I think just about most reasonable definition of the word political or politics is probably flung out the window. I've found this whole discourse to be so tiresome because it seems so simple in my head. Right, so, politically charged real-world analogy stuff is kind of political, right? Now, you can have that, but does it need to have an agenda that is shoved down your throat in a really ham-fisted way? No, that's not what being political means. That's something called bad writing. And it does actually play quite a lot of games, and I think that's why people get angry over the politics in games. Like, does Battlestar Galactica shove politics down your throat? No. Is Battlestar Galactica deeply rooted in politics and stuffed with real-world analogies? Yes. I mean, come on, this shit's easy. Why is this so much of a shit show? It's been baffling to see just aspects of the internet get their knickers in a twist over this one. Journo's getting super angry, and, the countercharge from the... Oh, man. Basically, I think it all comes down to, in a lot of modern writing, subtext seems to take the back seat. So you get this ham-fisted, blunt bullshit. That's bad writing, it's pretty common, and I guess whenever you combine ham-fisted bad writing with trying to be political and edgy, then you get stuff that feels like it's just shoving stuff down people's throats, and that's when people start to get frustrated with these elements in their games. Even though in most cases, yeah, politics in games, if that means, like, contemporary stuff, that can resonate with audiences and be great. Just, don't have it coming off like a PSA, because then that'll just be bad writing. So for Far Cry, the narrative director Naveed Kavari gave a series of interviews that basically first said the game had nothing to do with politics, and that it is, and then he gave interviews saying that it is inseparable from politics. So that's two pretty different messages. Confused, eh? Well, Far Cry 6 is set on Yara, which is a fictional Caribbean island that is very obviously inspired by Cuba. I think political things have happened in Cuba. Just a thought. Now, the idea, I think, that a game with such an inspiration could, that could avoid being political is kind of laughable, especially when you actually look at how the game is basically set in Cuba, and how it's got a, dictator villain character, the same actor as Gus Fring. Now, Naveed said that despite the team's appreciation of Cuba's culture, people, and history, that they don't want Far Cry 6 to be making a point about Cuba specifically. Now, I guess the thing I'd say there is we need to have room for nuance. You can have a multifaceted exploration that is not shoving a single point in a ham-fisted manner down people's throats. You do that, and you won't have people complaining about your game being political, you'll have them praising it for being good and well-written. Now, fast forward to this week, where Kavari now actually does believe that the game's story is political, as a story about a modern revolution must be. That's a quote from him. The story is going to ask, quote, hard, relevant questions. But also, Kavari emphasized that the team have gone to great lengths to ensure that it is, quote, told with sensitivity. So basically, there you go. According to the team, Far Cry 6 is not political, and fast forward 1 or 2 weeks, and it is. Here's the deal, right? Have all your political themes and context and all of that. Seriously, do. And then just write the story well. Because you can have all that political stuff going on, but as long as the characters feel authentic, and the political elements feel natural to the setting and the characters, then it won't feel forced. Then you'll get claps from people, broadly, because they'll like it. But if you write badly, you're blunt and you're ham-fisted, you shove stuff down people's throats, then the political elements will feel forced. It's basically here not a question of games covering political territory. I mean, the inciting incident of The Division is literally a Black Friday commentary on consumerism, right? That is kind of political and contemporary. But what really matters is actually doing the stuff well, making it feel seamless, And I think this is where the struggle seems to be for a lot of writers these days. They seem to struggle to let subtext be subtext. They seem to really want to make subtext be pretext, and that basically just means you're not treating your audience like they've got a brain cell, and you're shoving stuff down people's throat, which means that the hand of the writer, the hand of the designer will feel obvious, and people will bounce off the media. They will then ascribe that as being the politics angle, when, in reality, you can have a politically edgy or politically, set theme or whatever for your game, like perhaps this Far Cry does, but you just write the story right, write the story well, and it's successful. I think this is honestly such a simple thing. Look at Cyberpunk 2077. Deeply political game. You didn't exactly have people complaining about the game being political, though, right? Because I think the assumption there was, yeah, it had all this political context and philosophical context, but the point is, the characters and stuff will be well written, so it all feels natural and at home in the world. I think that's basically that's all you need to know to understand this whole politics thing. At least this aspect of that discourse. Next then, some drama. So, Creative Assembly have announced that Total War 3 Kingdoms will be receiving no further updates. And that quickly all went rather south for them. It prompted an organized review bombing of the game that left it with, it went from a really, really good review to a big, fat, overwhelmingly negative rating on Steam. So, ouch. Now, Creative Assembly, this is so funny, they explained in the game's most recent update video that, the most recent update will in fact be its last. But the fans of the game are quite pissed that promises aren't being kept, because they expected that Total War 3 Kingdoms would actually cover the Three Kingdoms bit. Kinda doesn't before. So that's odd. Moreover, they teased more DLC, like, just a few months ago, and they've clearly axed that. The Northern China DLC is a really funny one, where last year they actually said that they had placed a mountain in the wrong place in the Northern China part of the map, but that they would fix it as a part of a Northern China expansion of the game. Well, that mountain was moved in a recent patch, and that's that. No DLC. And it's funny, because that also presumably means that, some bugs and issues that the game still has are just going to linger. And yes, people are a bit pissed, because it kind of sucks when companies do this. So you might be wondering why. Well, it plays into the theme of Creative Assembly basically releasing as bare bones as they can, and then going extremely hard on downloadable content, which itself often has quite a lot of copy and paste amongst the units. And this is all while they ignore long community concerns like AI. I mean, seriously, everything past Shogun 2 has been a regression in their AI, and a whole bunch of other things too. Creative Assembly, it's a roller coaster what they do, basically. And by the way, Shogun 2 was 10 years ago. Now, of course, developers are well within their rights to draw a line under any project, right? To say, hey, we've looked at the numbers, we've got to keep everyone in a job, it's time to move on. The issue here is the how. So they did this in a YouTube video, the video where they had to change the title because the dislikes started to filter in, so that was kind of awkward. But what's odd is this was a video that celebrated Three Kingdoms, announced nothing in specific, and said that the Three Kingdoms universe would live on, which basically meant nothing other than people are now thinking there'll be a Total War 3 Kingdoms 2, or maybe a smaller scoped, yet probably fully priced, saga title covering the Three Kingdoms era. But either way, it seems like what they should have done in DLC will instead be flipped into a full game. Now, the rumor mill is interesting here because a lot of people know, well, we all know that Three Kingdoms sold incredibly well, especially in China. Which makes sense, I think there's a book called Romance of the Three Kingdoms that's pretty big there. But I've seen speculation that the take rate of DLC is not massive in the Chinese market, hence the decision to do it as a sequel at full price. I can't say whether that's true, but I think let this whole thing be a message or a lesson in public messaging. Okay, it's time for Quickfire. So, the maligned PS5 exclusive Destruction All-Stars is now going to be adding in bots, because they need to combat dwindling player numbers in off-peak times. So, that's kind of an ouch. Then, Koch Media have actually announced that they're going to be doing an E3 showcase on June 11th. This came courtesy of Jeff Keighley's Summer Games Fest, and it could be big enough. Koch have not given any indication of what to expect, but they operate a lot of IP. Dead Island, Metro, Saints Row, to name a few. So, watch that space, there could be something kind of big. Next then, we have got more Switch Pro rumors. A listing for a new Nintendo Switch Pro was briefly live on Amazon Mexico over the weekend. And, there's times in the past where similar things have actually proven to be correct. I've seen some other rumors too. I actually saw something saying that the 4th of June would have it be on sale. Who knows, but I think the point is there's obviously mounting rumors of the Switch Pro. I think that's a pretty good thing. Then a weird thing. Dying Light 2 has finally got a release date. Yeah. Now, it's actually going to be called Dying Light 2 Stay Human, and it's going to release December 7th. Now, this is after it previously being delayed indefinitely, amidst, of course, reports of just big development hell. Will it be any good? Who knows? They've certainly had time to work on it, but as with a lot of development hell titles, how much of that development will actually make it into the final product? Tricky. I hope it's good, though, because people loved the first one, and it seems it's got neat ideas. Okay. That's it for me. That's it for the news. If you want to support the show and also get a great VPN, then hit up Nord down in that description link. With that said, I'll see you next time.